call the meeting order at 7 p.m.
Krista, do you want to do roll call?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, Steph Hawk.
Yes, please. Jonathan Diego.
Yes.
Jason Nolan.
Yes.
David Harris.
Yes.
Siginger.
Yes.
Jonathan Larson. Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes. Okay, public comment, recognition of guests. Hello, guests. Not here. And presentations
All
are
right.
our first item.
Yeah, we're actually going to move our FY25 annual financial review presentation up to presentations. That way, Mr. Beasley doesn't have to stay all evening. So Andrew, if you want to come up, you can kind of share us and walk us through the AFR.
Okay. I'm Andrew Beasley from the firm Phillips & Associates, and I was the lead auditor on the audit this past year. And just for a general overview of the audit, it was a non-modified opinion on cash basis of accounting, and it was an adverse opinion on GAAP basis, which is pretty standard across the board. Cash basis is the basis of accounting that is recognized by ISB, and it's a lot easier to implement, so we typically recommend most school districts to keep implementing it, even though it's an adverse on GAAP basis. And it was 3 findings that we had for the audit. 2 of them are repeats from last year, from fiscal year 24. One of them is one that we do for every single school district, which is a new finding this year, and that is that the auditors, us, prepared the AFR and the financial statements. It's just letting the reader be aware that we audited and we prepared the financial statements. Just throwing that out there. And then the 2 repeats were, one was the reconciliation of cash was not completed timely, so we had missing transactions, and that's kind of what delayed a bit of the audit, was trying to find those missing transactions to record into the ledger. And then the second one was using Social Security funds for IMRF. So the levies weren't exactly right for Social Security and IMRF, so one levy was being used to fund the other one, which it shouldn't be happening. So I know I talked with Ryan about that, and that was something that was sorted out for the next tax levy. So that shouldn't be a finding for the next year. And then to kind of go over a little bit of the financials of it from the sheet of paper here, overall, the fund balance decreased by $1.2 million. That was primarily driven by $3.2 million getting moved out of working cash into capital projects, and capital projects having $2.9 million in expenses throughout the school year. So that was the main driver of the decrease in fund balance overall. Overall, the education fund increased the fund balance by just over $1.5 million, and most of the other funds increased as well, except for the IMRF, which decreased $7,000, and the bond and interest, which decreased $60,000, and the fire and safety, which decreased $685,000. Overall, the expenses were under budget by $1 million. The only over budget was the bond and interest, which was $400,000 over budget, which was due to interest being paid on one of the bonds that was not budgeted for in that school year. Comparing it to prior year, expenses were up by $4.2 million. Again, $3 million of that was due to capital projects throughout the year. And overall, there's about $13.5 million in long-term debt remaining for the district, going all the way out to about close to 2040. Then the financial profile score for the district is 3.9, which is the same as it was last year. No change in that. Overall, estimated operating expenses increased by $1.4 million, and average daily attendance decreased by almost 19 students, which increased the overall estimated operating expenses per pupil by around $3,000. The allowance for tuition was around $11 million, which was about a $1.5 million or $1.4 million increase over last year, and the estimated per capita tuition charge is just over $3,000 higher per student this year than it was last year at $18,700. Big thank you to Krista and Kara for the help that they put in and the work that they put in to get us all the information that we were needing. As Ali know, I was bugging them for information a lot. And big thanks to Ryan too for making sure we can get all the information that we needed to get completed. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Is there anything that needs to be done different for the next year?
The main concern, which I already talked to Ryan about, was just getting those banks reconciled and up to date. And once that happens, I think it should be fine. Because with it not being reconciled, it had some missing transactions. So, for instance, between November of 2024 and June of 2025, there were almost every month didn't have interest recorded in the ledger. So I had to go through each bank statement and record the interest. There was a handful of expenses and all that would have been caught through a bank reconciliation. And so once that's caught up, I don't see any problems. It's just getting that caught up.
And that'll be a big focus within the office. I know that Chris is working with Lois. They have already scheduled meetings over the next month or so to get everything hopefully where it needs to be. A lot of that was a result of our transition to when we transitioned from the old Skyward to the new Skyward. It created a lot of problems. Going back to that, one of the AFR findings relates to IMRF and Social Security. There's still going to be one more year of a finding because I did not change that until this year's levy.
Right.
Right, so just so you know.
It was the one that you just levied prior.
Okay, yeah.
So the FY26 is still going to have that finding.
Yeah.
FY27 is not going to have that finding.
Yeah. So. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, up next is communication. I know she has ISB liaison talking to me. I don't think there was one, because she messaged me and said, do you have this? And I didn't, so I don't think there was one of those. I think she put on there as a placeholder. And I went back through all my emails.
Yeah, I didn't see
not
any.
got
I didn't
anything
even
from
check
him,
my
because she
email.
asked me last week, she goes, is this missing? And I started searching, I'm like, the last one I had was for the June.
From
meeting.
June, yep. Okay.
So maybe they just skip them somewhere. Everyone needs a break. Okay, up next is committee reports.
There were no committees.
Okay, and administrative reports, Brian?
Yeah, just me
you?
tonight. Yeah, so my first kind of talking point came about from our board eval last week, but you know, well, number one, we've been working really hard already, getting ready for this upcoming school year. There's been a lot of work that's gone into, you know, even since July 1, preparing, whether it's financial type side things or just preparing for professional development and back to school type days. But you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, we invite families to become and continue to be a part of the learning process, and be a part of that educational journey. You know, parent involvement and support for their students' education and with the school is critical for those students to grow and excel, but also, you know, it helps the learning organization in general and the community prosper. So I just really want to make sure that we share that message of your presence matters, you know, those stakeholders' presence matters that are in the building for a variety of things, whether it's coming to eat lunch or volunteer for events, or when you go home having conversations about school and what they learned at the table. Anytime that we can show that we value education, that's just going to instill that in our students and our passion, and just create a better result for students in the long run, which will in turn also create a better community and organization. So just hopefully just everybody has the opportunity to be involved a lot this school year, because we know how important that homeschool connection is. Additionally, just kind of some housekeeping things. I actually put out a message today to families, but some important dates. Number one, online registration will be kicking off August 3rd, and so all those families that are returning enrollment, please make sure that we jump on to Skyward or Q and get that process beginning on August 3rd. Usually there are emails that are sent out, or you can hop onto your Skyward portal and able to get registered there. Additionally, those pre-K, kindergarten, and all new students to the district, they register in person. That'll be on August 6th. So you'll go to the building where your student will be enrolled to do that registration. Additionally, first night will be 2 different nights this year. We will have the first night on Monday, August 17th. That will be Snyder and the high school campus. And then on the 18th will be the Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High. Once again, these are just a great way for families to come in and meet teachers, visit classrooms, kind of get comfortable with that, those buildings and experiences. I know 4th grade does a specific presentation, or at least first has a specific presentation for those incoming families into that building. We're hoping to have some type of a kickoff and grand opening for our playground at Snyder Elementary as well. So,
What time do the doors open for those?
so typically around 4:30, I'm sorry, 5:30. 5:30 is kindergarten registration, but 6 o'clock is really when it begins. It's kind of the main meat of it, 6 to 7. So if anybody wants to come, I would really encourage any of the board members that want to come and set up at one of the buildings and just greet and say hello. That would be wonderful. And I can,
6 o'clock.
yeah, 6 o'clock, yeah. There will be some families coming in at 5:30. Those are for our kindergarten who come in for like an early kindergarten orientation, and then 4th grade, a few parents are also coming in at 5:30 on that day. But mainly from 6 to 7 is where a core, most of the people will be.
That's when you can go around and visit in the
Yep.
classrooms.
Yep, absolutely. And if we can get everything going for our big kickoff to kind of unveil the new playground, we'll definitely get a lot of information out about that ahead of time, so people know where to be at what time, so we can celebrate that new space. Also available, the new calendar will be available soon. It's actually on the consent agenda today. So that will be something that will be available to families and out very soon, so people can start making plans. And then one of the big pieces in which I put out today was about physicals and immunizations. Our school has a policy that if you do not have physicals and immunizations by the first day of student attendance, you cannot participate in school that day. So we really want to make sure everyone knows this is a great time to go out and make sure you get those scheduled prior to school beginning, because we want to step into that first day of school on a positive note and be ready to learn. So there's also a letter that was sent out today that just kind of has a lot of details about what grade levels and immunizations and physicals are needed in, and then who to contact with any questions. Our nurses are great, building secretaries are great, all have a lot of great information that they're willing to share. So that's basically what I have there. We're going to jump into the QFR, the quarterly financial report. You had that this week, and so you're able to kind of take a look at some of the information that's there. I think kind of the key areas to look at, which I focus a lot on, number one, obviously in column B, those are your funds, right? As you move across those different columns, you can see different information. I focus a lot on number 1F, the actual revenues, right? I want to know how much money we really brought in. And I focus a lot on column I, our actual expenditures. So how much did we actually spend, right? Those are the big key pieces to me. In the end, what you can see, if you go all the way over to the last column, which does not have a letter at the top of it, you kind of see estimated fund balances. That gives you a picture of where we are right now, or at least a pretty good estimate. What you see in column D, if we go back over to the left, when they did the audit, these are the numbers where we ended the school year as of 6/30/25, right? And so everything is kind of built off of that number. I've made a few charts here on the next couple of pages. I don't have them available up there, but you have them in front of you. Flip over. This just has some information that I think might be helpful. One of the board members had asked, are there any other ways we can visualize some of the information that may make it a little bit easier to look at? And so the first one is that pie chart. That is a actual expenditure breakdown overall. So basically, when you take a look at all of our expenditures across the district, right, about 68% of that comes from our ed fund. Almost 70 really, as we could look at. So that's a huge piece of where our expenditures go. A lot of that are people, right? It's your salaries, your benefits, but it's also things like curriculum and learning materials and a variety of other things. But I just thought that might be just a kind of quick idea of kind of how those expenditures are broken down. If you go to the next page, you can kind of see proposed versus actual expenditures. It's the bar graph that is kind of blue and red. And each one of those, if you look on the left side, you can see the amount of money that we spent. Underneath, on that horizontal line, you can see the different funds. So you can see proposed expenditures versus actual expenditures. Basically, in almost every one of those areas, we underexpended. That is kind of an idea of conservative budgeting, is when we budget, we overestimate, I guess, what our expenditures will be and underestimate those revenues. So overall, if you look at our proposed expenditures, we're about 11.5 in education fund, and we only spent 10.8. So, staying underneath that budget. So happy about that. As you go down, very similar numbers. Where you'll see it not be that way typically, when you look at those expenditures would be on Fund 90. We did not spend as much as we thought. Some of the projects for HLS did not begin within the last school year, but we're starting to get checks now. So we're paying some of those now. Really, the main HLS expenditures that we had in Fund 90, a majority of it was the HLS window projects that we had over there. We did have a little bit of the Autobahn, I believe, come out for the first Tuck Point Masonry one. We saw another one this month. But overall, with our expenditures, I felt like we did pretty well compared to the budget and what was proposed. If you look at the last page, what you can see is a beginning and funding ending balance. It's a horizontal bar graph there. When you look at the fund balance in 10, you can see we started with 9.7. We're estimating that we're at 1070. So, about a $300 increase there, a $300,000, I'm sorry. Ed fund, we were at 3.2, now at 3.4. Bond and interest stayed right around the same. We don't need to have a fund balance in that area, a big fund balance, so we're doing fine there. It's okay for us to spend down that fund balance a little bit. That does help the taxpayer a little bit as well. Transportation, 1.3. We're ending around 1.39, so that's pretty positive. We actually got what we expected in our mandated categoricals by the end of the year. So we were pretty happy with that. Now, on the other flip side of that, we receive around $475,000 annually of corporate personal property replacement tax, CPPRT. I put around $265,000 of that into Fund 40 last year to offset any deficit that we may encounter, because we do a lot of transporting in a district of 212 square miles. So it is a big expense for us. So I've been utilizing some of those other revenue streams to help offset some of that cost. IMRF, you can see right around the same. Once again, we don't need to have a big fund balance in that area. You heard Andrew talk today. Yeah, there's kind of just this offset of the money there, so we just need to make sure that we are levying correctly moving forward, so we're not commingling and doing some things there that get us findings. We don't want findings ever. Site construction. Obviously, we started with 800,000 down to 316, and that should be right. The purpose of 60 and 90, those are money that we bonded usually to do some type of facility improvement. In Fund 60, a lot of that money that was spent was for the track facility, concession stand, those type of things that we did for facility improvements. And when you look at 70, working cash started at 644 up to 762. Once again, we increased that fund balance. TOR increased about $10,000 there as well. Health, life, safety, we dropped, around a couple $100,000, which we should be, right? Those fund balances are meant to do HLS improvements, so that should be going down because we should be completing different projects that are on HLS report. Any questions for me? Are the visuals helpful at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
It often feels to me like we're spending so much on O&M, and then it makes it like, oh.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective,
You just see those numbers come through.
I'd like to see those prominently on the website.
Okay.
For people.
Yeah.
Because then it shows, because I think when people just see some of those projects come through, they seem very big, but it's like, no, it's education.
Right, in the long run, yeah. I mean, we're spending a huge amount of money on the ed fund, and we want to, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. But it
Yeah.
feels big, but it's like, oh, it's 7.6.
Okay. All right, that's all that I have.
And then the rest of the reports are in your board packet. Next, look at 720, approval of consent items. Does anyone have any questions on the consent items? Comments, questions, concerns, anything? If not, I would take a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented by Sid
Second.
and Yeagle.
Jason Nolan,
Yes.
Sid Inger,
Yes.
David Harris,
Yes.
Jonathan Larson, Josh Hahn,
Yes.
Jonathan Yeager,
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes, a lot of J's, huh?
Thanks.
Okay, and now we have new business. First is the change order for the Schneider Playground.
Okay, yeah, so this came through. Basically what we're looking at is that we looked at getting rid of the wooden fence that was there. It wasn't a great fence structurally, it had a beautiful mural on it, so we're thankful to Mrs. Wilder and those that were a part of that. One of the things that we wanted to look at, there's a couple of components of it. One, there was just some unevenness as well. We wanted to create kind of a more aesthetic looking space with the black fence all the way around it. That was one aspect of it. One of the big aspects that I was prioritized on was that fence created a lot of issues in relations to housing nests. Every year, we went through multiple bee stings, wasp stings. They were hard to find inside of that wooden fence. And so, you know, by getting rid of that fence, it really does help to make sure that we're reducing the likelihood. Now, we can't control all wasp and bee stings, but we can control whether there's 2 or 3 nests in a space right next to the playground with our pre-K 3 to 4-year-olds, right? So, you know, that was part of the cost. The additional piece was the additional concrete that needed to be utilized in order to put that fencing down and create that curve. So they doubled the concrete. The other part of it is they're going to create a little ramp too. If you remember, when our awesome industrial tech group worked along with the Hauser and Rusty to finalize our playground shed that's back there, there's a gap that stands from the playground to the shed, and so they're going to create a nice level space there, or not a space, but a ramp, so that we can get all of the trikes up and down and the bikes up and down as well. So, you know, it's one of those situations too where there's a time gap, and there's a timeline, and we're trying to get everything done at a certain time. I'm actually meeting with these guys tomorrow morning at 7:30. We're going to do a walkthrough. I actually had a conversation with the project manager earlier this week, I think on Monday. It was me, Sunny, and him, and just kind of talked about how we need to get this project moving quickly. You know, we're at a point where August 10th, we will have students back in the building for kindergarten jumpstart, and that needs to be ready to go when we have kids in the building. That's the whole reason why we started this project early as we did. So he did say that he would prioritize that and have that ready by the 7th, but I'm meeting with him tomorrow to do a walkthrough and just kind of have some more dialogue.
Are there any questions? If not, need a motion and a second to approve the change order for the Schneider Elementary Playground for Blue Ridge CUSD number 18 as presented.
So moved. Second.
Yeagle and Josh.
Sid Inger,
Yes.
David Harris,
Yes.
Jonathan Larson, Josh Hahn,
Yes.
Jonathan Yeager,
Yes.
Jason Nolan,
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes. Up next is change order, second floor insulation project.
Okay, at the beginning of the project, as they were installing insulation around everywhere up on the second floor, they noticed that the VAV boxes had a lot of condensation on them, more so than what they thought. So the project manager who was up there, or the installer, said that, you know, we need to look at getting those insulated. A couple of reasons. One, help reduce the condensate coming out. Number two, he said it would increase the overall efficiency of the unit. So we recommend to do that. The other problem is that if we don't do that now, they said in order to do it later, we would have to remove some pieces and then reinstall. And so we thought this was the best time to get it done, and hopefully it reduces condensate in general, and we just see less issues. The drip pan obviously is there, and hopefully that will solve the problem for the most part, but this extra insulation will just be hopefully the icing on the cake, and we'll make sure that we don't see this issue in the future. $1,500 project.
Any questions or comments? If not, I need a motion and a second to approve the change order for the Blue Ridge High School second floor insulation project for Blue Ridge CUSD number 18 as presented.
So moved.
Sid?
Second.
Josh?
David Harris.
Yes.
Jonathan Larson. Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Jonathan Gable.
Yes.
Jason Nolan.
Yes.
Sig Ingert.
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes. Up next is the FY25 annual financial review.
Yep, you heard from Andrew. We've heard about the corrective action plans, or corrective action items. One of those, like he said, is just a standard thing that every district is getting. The other two are things specifically to us. We've had conversations in the office about specific plans that we're going to address those. I still think we're going to get a finding next year on the IMRF Social Security piece, because that levy was written before I came in, and I can't change this year, but I did write the levy for the FY20. When we get money coming in next year, it should hopefully offset that FY27 piece, but I still think we'll probably find a finding in this next one.
If there are no questions or comments, I need a motion and a second to approve 2024-2025 annual financial report for Blue Ridge CUSD number 18, conducted by Phillips and Associates CPA PC, as presented.
So moved.
Diego and Josh.
Jonathan Larson. Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Jonathan Gable.
Yes.
Jason Nolan.
Yes.
Sig Ingert.
Yes.
David Harris.
Yes.
Francie Miller.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion and a second to move from open session to closed session at 7:27.
So moved.
Diego
Second.
and Josh.
Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Jonathan Gable.
Yes.
Jason Nolan.
Yes.
David Harris.
Yes.
Sig Ingert.
Yes.
Jonathan Larson. Francie Miller.
Yes.